What was the name? Yeah, that was amazing. But I had too much of it. Now I highly recommend it. If you didn't try it, please try it before you go back home. This is an amazing experience. So, everyone, just checking whether we have the session speakers also here in the room. Not yet. Yes, we have them. Okay, cool. So, to those who don't know me, I'm Tarek Keskes, energy specialist with the World Bank. I work at SMAP and I also support the ESP Secretariat. And I have the pleasure of moderating this session. We'll be discussing battery energy storage market and value chain in South Africa. And you'll be hearing first results from this study that will be soon be hearing all of that from our colleagues. Hey, Fred. As you wish. Yes, please, have a seat. Here you go.
Okay. So it will be a conversation. Maybe it's better than we sit. And Harsh is connected, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So good afternoon, everyone. So I will just do a few introductory words to give you the background of this study, and then from that, Harsh will do the hard work actually to present the study and the results and the outcomes, and then Vanji will present what are the next steps for the study and moving forward. So it was a long gestation. The study has started a while ago because the initial thinking, the genesis of the study, is actually linked to the Eskom battery project. I explain. South Africa battery storage market and value chain. So from that we had discussions with DTIC, with DMRE, and with Mintech, and then we basically conceptualized what we understood from them, what was localization about, and then also this question that we were all discussing at the time with DPE, which is a line ministry overseeing Eskom, which is what is a chicken and egg between creating a market and creating most of the value chain creation. And at the time, the intuition was that basically all the segments of the value chain of battery storage could be materialized in South Africa. And I'm very glad.
Yeah, thanks, Fred. So Tarek, can I start the presentation?
Yes, please.
Yeah, thank you. So thank you to Fred and Wunsch for taking us through the study, and it has been an enriching experience to witness the market in South Africa. And yes, I've been hearing in some of the speeches that the South African market has not been looked at as a market itself for battery and energy storage. And I think in this study, we tried to see that. But I think there is always a room for optimism when we are looking at the South Africa market and Southern Africa market in terms of the battery demand. Before we, I think, go into what we did in the study and how we went about it, I would just like you to see at this slide, which takes us through the demand for lithium-ion batteries or cells in the global perspective. So from 2017 to 2023, almost a 6-year journey, we have seen market growing from 35 gigawatt hour to 650 gigawatt hour. Now, this is just around the demand for car industry. And you can see the EV penetration in the global market has grown from just over 1% in 2017 to close to 20% in 2023. And if we see the targets for the major OEMs across the world, then we might be also looking at 40% penetration globally. Now, that's a target, so we still don't know like how it's going to meet. But I think the growth rates and the market share penetration over the last 7 years have been quite fantastic. So if we draw this demand on a global scale for EVs, stationary storage, and others, when we say others, we are looking at demand for the power tools, some other like lighter applications like consumer electronics. We would be seeing demand in between 1,000 to 1,500 gigawatt hour in 2025. And in 2030, we have taken a conservative demand here of 2,500 gigawatt hour. But there are many analysts who say that this would be touching 3,000, or some even say going to 4,000 gigawatt hour. Now, as you can see, EV has been the major kind of pushing, like driving force behind this demand growth. And to support this, over 7,000 gigawatt hour of gigafactories have been announced. Of course, like many of them would be delayed or not see the light because we are seeing that there is a quite lot of investment going around in the cell manufacturing and also in the supply chain. So we have also attempted a technology-wise split for this demand. And this is coming from different sources of what car manufacturers are going with and how the market is reacting to different advancement in chemistries. So there have been two significant changes that we see in the market. NMC 811, which is nickel, manganese, cobalt, lithium ion, has seen a rise in nickel percentage in cathode. And that's been done to achieve a larger energy density in the cell. Similarly, we have also seen LFP getting stronger and stronger in the last 3 years because energy density of LFP cells were around 130 to 140 watt hour per kg 3 years back. Now we see LFP cells are being sold in China at 180 to 190 watt hour per kg. This has been quite a significant improvement in the cell energy density. It has helped a lot of EV penetration for LFP cells. And this is happening in the base variant of many electric vehicle cars. We are also seeing a lot of the energy storage tenders which are going LFP way. We are seeing many of the cells are giving 6,000 to 8,000 cycles in today's quotation, technical quotations. And the South African market is also going for a lot of LFP cells today in stationary storage demand, especially for behind the meter residential home inverter systems and even commercial systems. So if we are kind of trying to reflect this kind of pattern, technology pattern in terms of requirement for different metals, then we would be seeing that the requirement for most of these metals would be in range of 6 times to 15 times of what the requirement was in 2020. And this is just for batteries. So the metals which would be growing fastest or the most would be something like nickel. In terms of volume, the metals that we see the requirement for is graphite and then copper and aluminum. We also see basically manganese and cobalt growing. The growth in cobalt is probably the slowest among these metals because a lot of these chemistries are trying to replace cobalt because of the price and also because of the mining and geopolitical issues. We also see vanadium demand would be growing past 2028, 2027. when we would be seeing the global demand for high duration energy storage coming into picture. So that's again where would be of interest for South African mining companies. If we see, take a look at the battery market in South Africa and Southern Africa, we had forecasted the base scenario for 2023 as 1500 megawatt hour. Our estimates are now that this market has surpassed this number and is probably close to somewhere close to our best case estimate, because we have been speaking to some of the companies who are making battery packs and BESS in South Africa, the likes of Solar MD, Freedom One, and I think each one of them is doing a business of around 500 megawatt hour, and all the cells are being today imported from China. Probably next year they would be doing business which can be almost like double or 4 times of what they are doing today. So that's going to be a lot of cells getting imported into South Africa. Interestingly, it has given a rise to new skill set in pack manufacturing and also in BESS integration. Now, this demand, which is behind the meter demand, is going to be maybe transient demand, and it's a lot dependent upon how the power reliability is going to play next 7 to 8 years. But we are very hopeful that South Africa would seriously look at electric vehicle manufacturing, and that is also the recommendation from this study and many other studies that we have been reading, that if we kind of go for 10% penetration of EV manufacturing in 2030 for both local and global, we'll be seeing a demand of at least 10 gigawatt hour in 2030, and 70% of it would be going towards electric vehicle. Now, if we take a look at this demand, the both global demand and the South African demand, and if we also map of what are the key strengths of South Africa, then probably we see a lot of opportunities for manganese mining companies and also likes of vanadium to directly go towards the next value add, which can be making vanadium salt electrolyte and also going for manganese sulfate. Similarly, it is not very difficult to move towards aluminum processing because there have been manufacturing of aluminum sheets in South Africa. So it is not that difficult to go for a 15 micro mm or 10 micro mm aluminum foil for battery manufacturing. And similarly, we see nickel sulfate can also be seen as one of the possible next value add which can be added in the upstream of this value chain. When we come to midstream, we have seen this is the tricky part because many of the processing here becomes more like chemical in nature. It's not more like metal processing. And this is where to reach the prices what are there in the global market, we are looking at almost like 20 gigawatt hour plus manufacturing scale of each of these components, whether it's lithium hexafluorophosphate, which is a salt which goes into electrolyte, or if we are looking for LFP or NMC cathode powder active material, which is going into cathode. So things like this would be difficult to do at a smaller scale, and unless the market matures to that level, I think midstream would be tricky at this point on many levels for South Africa and Southern Africa. If we take a look at the downstream, I think the battery pack, which is the battery manufacturing, what we are calling as a battery manufacturing, is already happening in South Africa at a great scale. And it is happening at a very large scale than what we imagined 2-3 years ago. Because whether we like it or not, the load shedding has made this happen, this transition happen. The good thing is the market or the industry has now the skill set to make battery packs, and they can be also made around electric vehicles. The market also has the skill set to make and can be supported so that they carry on with the business even when the power scenario is better after a few years. We also have seen at the probability of getting into battery cell manufacturing. Battery cell manufacturing should be targeted for South Africa and Southern Africa, has been the recommendation in this report, because we see the market beyond 2030 would definitely have space for 2 or 3 cell manufacturing companies in South Africa to meet the local demand, to meet the Southern Africa demand, and also to meet the EV export demand, which would come from the automobile industry, which is providing to the European market. So if we take the whole map as such, there are a lot of opportunities in this battery value chain where we can look for more job opportunities and also to increase the economic value for South Africa. So we looked at different possibilities, or I would say different scenarios around these opportunities. And we said there can be easy pickings where we already look at just the mineral beneficiation and the BESS integration. And today, some of it is already happening. So easy picking is something which would happen even without a lot of policy support. And then when we talk about the next level, we are talking about creating a regional battery mineral hub, beneficiation hub. So we focus on graphite. We have good relationship with SADC countries and see the way in which we can make the region as a battery mineral beneficiation hub. And then we also focus on both the markets, FTM and BTM for both packs and BSS. Again, this is happening at a very large scale today. So even we think that bridging the divide is not a big ambition. So we have recommended that going the whole 9 yards is the only kind of target that we should have in mind. And this is the target where we look at not only beneficiation, but we also look at cell manufacturing and EV manufacturing in South Africa. And we are looking at almost like minimum impact of 60,000 jobs happening. And this would also have a great impact on the GDP, as you can see here. So as you can see, we are exporting a lot from South Africa in terms of automobiles. And if we are not making the EV transition, then we are also looking at losing jobs which are supported around export of automobiles in South Africa. So I think this is the transition which would not only benefit in achieving more jobs, but will also benefit us in saving the jobs which are already existing in South Africa. And I think these are the different level of impacts that we see in all the 3 scenarios. And we see that this is already going to happen, whether we give any additional policy support or not. But I think this is where we need to be. And we are also going to take a look at what other countries are doing in terms of meeting these kind of targets and how they are seeing the market. So first we'll talk about Western Australia, which has basically come up with a vision statement that they want to achieve larger share of beneficiation in upstreams. So as you can see, the blue is where they already are, and the purple is where they want to get to, or and this color, the dark pink, if I may say that, is where they are targeting to be in next 5 to 7 years. So I think it's very important to have a vision statement. It lacks in the planning, like how they would like to get there, but at least it's defining that what are the targets going to be. If we see other geographies like India and Thailand, I think they have come up with definite budgets of 2.5 billion and over 1 billion to meet some kind of targets on cell manufacturing. India's subsidy layout is on production-linked incentives, and it is for 50 gigawatt-hour target by 2028. What they are providing is a 20%, up to 20% subsidy of cell price for first 5 years of manufacturing. And they are also looking to give more subsidy to cell manufacturers who are doing higher value add. So if we take a look at Thailand, I think the subsidies are more towards giving more incentives to EV market, then basically giving incentives to the cell manufacturing itself. But Thailand has spent a lot of time with geographies like China in planning like how they go forward with EV manufacturing to pack manufacturing to cell manufacturing. And we see a lot of public companies in Thailand having now partnerships with Chinese companies like EVE, which is one of the largest cell manufacturers in China and also globally. And there have been some joint ventures, there have been some technology buyouts or licensing through which they are getting into this business. If we take the Indian scenario, the subsidy repayment is being considered from the oil import savings that they would be doing. So the government estimates that there would be almost 2.7 billion USD to 3.5 billion USD oil import savings once this program is in place. So the whole 2.5 billion subsidy program would be met by oil savings done in a year. So that's how they are budgeting for this program. If we take the example of Indonesia, they have gone back to nickel ore export, and they have done it many times in past. When they did first time in 2014, they saw the local production of pig iron, nickel pig iron, growing tremendously from almost 0 to 500,000 tons. And they called in the largest Chinese stainless steel manufacturer to not just basically export the ore, but to process it locally before exporting to China. And similarly, after the recent ban, which was in 2019, a battery consortium has been formed with different companies. Some of them have been the local oil companies and the electricity companies, public electricity companies would be participating with likes of LG Chem and CATL in making gigafactories in Indonesia. So I think similar ways are possible in which South Africa or Southern Africa can look at this kind of interventions. So we also have taken a look at different programs of Europe, China, and United States. But I think these are slightly larger programs, and the scales are quite large. But I think the one thing is common between all the three geographies, that they have looked at not just cell manufacturing or EV manufacturing, but they have looked at the value chain as a whole. And some of these geographies are not having the resources on the mining side. And that's where I think the locations like South Africa and Indonesia are very interesting, because there are opportunities on both upstream and the downstream side of the battery value chain. So I think many of us have seen IRA Inflation Reduction Act of US, and we have seen quite a significant incentives being rolled out for battery manufacturing and also raw material supply. They are in the tune of $10 to $35 per kilowatt hour, and that's quite a large incentive which has been rolled out, and that's quite a lot. But I think we would be seeing in practicality like how it goes and how it is implemented might be slightly different. Apart from the federal incentives across the world, there have been also some of the state incentives, and there have been on the reduction in electricity tariffs and land subsidies, and also some of the capital subsidies in terms of buying machinery for cell manufacturing. So yes, so that's some of the learnings that we wanted to share from around the world on how different geographies have gone about cell manufacturing and battery value chain optimization. So thank you. Thanks. That's all from my side.
Excellent. Thank you so much. We'll open up now for Q&A. Must say, I found it striking that right now we're standing at levels 0.4 gigawatt hour, and by 2030, in the best case, we'll go up to 17 gigawatt hour. I don't know if I'm good enough in math to do it right, but this is 40 times what we have right now. So, would like to start with questions, clarifications. Please.
Thank you very much for that very interesting presentation. Lots of facts and figures. So a couple of things. One is I see a lot of subsidies being provided to the battery, the nascent battery or growing battery industry. But what about WTO rules? I mean, are they not being compromised by all these subsidies being provided and kind of these issues of competition? That's my first question. The second question is, what is happening to the price of batteries? Is there like an exponential drop in the prices because of the increased production? Because, you know, some of these lithium-ion batteries are still quite expensive. So it'd be interesting to see what's happening with the price, what's happening currently with the price of batteries, and what is projected to happen with the price of batteries.
Thanks for that question. I think subsidies across the battery production and also raw material production have been challenged, and there have been gray areas, whether they are done in the spirit to grow local economies, or they have been done in the spirit to stop the imports coming in. I think the most debated policy here is IRA, because many of the plants which were planned around Europe market are now shifting to US. So that has been the case where we heard Tesla, Germany moving to US, and many other plants in Europe, like they were not able to close funding after IRA came into picture. So yes, I think there would be always gray areas on the subsidy programs, in what sense they are being done. But I think each of the larger geographies are trying to make themselves safe in terms of not getting into the geopolitical puddle and trying to grow the manufacturing themselves, because I think a new sector is giving them a wish and kind of a restart timer to basically race with other countries on this sector. Coming to the point of cell prices, I think we have seen going very low in 2020. We had seen cell prices going to $80 to $90 per kilowatt hour in 2020 when COVID came in and the demand crashed. 2022, we saw the highest cell prices ever. So last year, for one of the ESS tender, I remember seeing sell prices around $170 per kilowatt hour. Last month, we were discovering sell prices in China for some of the BESS tenders, and we saw the sell prices have gone down to $75 in like September, October 2023. So that I think that's the latest sell price, and it has been lowest sell price that we have seen so far in the market. Our analysis says that this sell price is not viable to make possibly anywhere in the world, but still the prices have been quite low because manufacturing capacity in China have grown much faster than the demand, which was supposed to grow. So yeah, I think this trend is going to continue possibly in 2024. But we analysts always get it wrong. So yeah, we are always surprised by how market reacts. Yeah, but it's also puts a lot of pressure on the new industries, on the new businesses which are growing, because price would be quite sinusoidal in next few years. And that's where if you are having hold on the mines and the mineral beneficiation, it gives you a lot of edge because you are not buying from the spot market and you are buying from long-term strategic contracts. So I think that's the only way you can hedge around this market.
And just to add one quick thing on this, yes, the geopolitics of clean energy, it's very interesting to see. There have been one or two pieces on this, Arena and some others. What they did not say in this report is that basically the policies and incentives that countries are doing to incentivize the local content, let's say, of the clean energy infrastructure development, it's linked to where they are strong. So if you are strong like Southern America, if you are strong in lithium mining, well, you will incentivize all that is from the mining to downstream on the lithium technology. So we would assume that where South Africa and Southern Africa is strong on minerals, there will be some incentives there on policy, I mean, to incentivize. One thing that Harsh said that is critical is that the load shedding made the manufacturing happen. We can say how, but actually it's about the visibility that it provides. I think it was Mikhail saying that in the panel before, the visibility that the different tenders plus the need for battery, from the residential and commercial provided to the sector, it made some gigafactory pop up without subsidies and policies and incentives. So the same manufacturers 3 years before, when we were doing the studies and doing consultation, were coming to say, well, will it really happen? Are you thinking that it will happen because we are considering South Africa, but we are considering other countries too? So that's what happened. The load shedding and the energy crisis accelerated the path. And then definitely on the pricing, well, we all say that solar has had a dramatic decrease in price. Actually, if battery storage was considered as a clean technology, it's not often the case. It would be the steepest decline in costs on the last decade, more than solar PV.
All right. Any other questions? Mm-hmm. We have one question there, and
so this isn't really a question; it's more of a comment and a thank you. So As was mentioned here, there's a lot of data and facts in this report, and we can always dispute what the forecasts are. They're always going to be wrong, but what this does is it sets a kind of a conversation starter. We can have a conversation starter with government about employment. We can have a conversation starter about what the implications, and then decisions can be made or intentionally not made. And so from that point of view, I just would like to thank the bank for funding this. And the guys who did the report. Someone else mentioned that there was a TIP study that came out recently. I think all of that is starting to create more information on what the opportunity is for South Africa, but also what we can do to get some employment, get some investment, and get some growth out of the sector. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Vonjil, what are the next steps now? Oh,
there is still a question.
So we have another question. 2 questions. Okay, before we go to the next steps.
Again, thank you for this valuable information. But as we seek to grow this industry, or as we seek to transition, I say the region, I won't just talk about South Africa. One of the models that I think we need to consider that we saw was successful was the telecommunication industry, where when it became privatized and decentralized, the number of people now who have access to telecommunication and smart devices changed. In South Africa, for example, in 1987, there was only about 3 million telephone users. That grew to about 5 million in 1993. As of 2018, Vodacom alone had over 38 million customers. So with renewable energy, because I consider this part of the renewable energy, we have another opportunity to change the region and Africa by again making sure that private sector can play its rightful role. Government can play its rightful role in terms of regulating and monitoring to make sure that we in the private sector are doing what is necessary to not only grow the economy, but to also ensure that everyone can access electricity. 2, that's going to be everybody can access clean transportation, because we cannot reduce our CO2s without a significant reduction in our transportation system, which is very much aligned into EV. So we just hope that we can continue to work together with CSIR, with World Bank to grow our economies. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And last question.
Okay, Carlo Mol from Vito, Belgium. Thanks for the presentation. In fact, it's a very useful study also for the battery testbed that Vito and CSIR have been setting up. I do have one specific question and maybe a recommendation about the skills development. Somewhere in the presentation it was mentioned battery assembly companies, they already have plenty of skills to do it. So it's an ongoing thing. But when we see the whole electrification, if it's in stationary batteries or in e-mobility, you need enough people, and I saw 60,000 employees if you go the full way. It takes time to have people with the right skills. You need students graduating in the right topic, and you have your existing staff that needs to be retrained. It's a huge challenge to have enough of these people. Even in Europe, we have a fight every day for the right person for the right job. And I was wondering, its recommendation is start early enough. the question is, yeah, how are you taking up this, yeah, this action?
Yes, I think I can respond to that because it links to what's next after this study, because it's always good to have such study and it's important piece of work. And I agree with the comment saying that it's a base document that we all, use to go forward and to implement those recommendations as quick as possible. And then, as a next step, we think that in the study, one of the most important things that we should consider is the reskilling and upskilling to support the scaling up of battery storage in South Africa, especially. And the World Bank, after the study, we didn't stop with supporting the study, but also mobilizing some grant funding now to go to the next step, to do some gap analysis and then make something very concrete about this reskilling and upskilling, which is part of the next step that we propose already and discussing with counterpart in South Africa. And the discussion will continue with all of you on that to make it really helpful for the country. So that's one thing that I would like to mention. And as we all know, private companies will come with very good environment condition that they will invest in South Africa. So one of the most important thing of the recommendation that we need to go down in more granularity is also about policy measures on the mineral beneficiation, because that's, I think, something that needs to be also concrete, how to implement that, so that it will happen in the country. So that's an example of the next step that we can include, to support the country. And I would like to inform also that the World Bank has put in place recently the Green Mineral Initiative that includes sovereign African countries, South Africa, Zambia, DRC Congo. Because in the scenario that was presented by Hars, you see that in the 10-year scenario, there is a need to collaborate with other countries to make these things even more impactful for the region and to have this job creation at the maximum level. So that is also one of the proposed interventions that we are working on, just to get those countries who has complementarity in terms of minerals to work together and to speak in one voice, to make strong proposal to satisfy the market needs, the world market needs in terms of battery, because Southern Africa has, I think, competitive advantage to step in that direction. So just to share with you, that's the kind of next step that we should work on starting from now on and based on the recommendation of this report and other relevant reports like the TIPS report, which is factored in this report. So I think there are really coherence in terms of how to go forward with this agenda. And then in terms of publishing the report, just for your information, we are working on the last editing of the report just to make sure that the report will comply with World Bank's reporting standard, and I will have it published in a couple of weeks. So we'll see it on a external website of the bank soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So that's the end of the session. Allow me to thank again Fred, Vongil, and Harsh for the presentation, and all of you for the comments and questions. Thank you very much. It's on. Please have the other mic ready in case someone needs to speak.
It's on? Hello? Okay. So hi everyone, my name is Ivana. I'm the one who's been sending all the emails in the last couple of weeks. I'm a consultant at ESP. I joined actually only in August, so quite a new addition to the team. Then we have my colleague Vinu, who's been there a bit longer. He's also a consultant. First of all, thank you all for joining this session. Your insight and feedback is very important for us in shaping the future of ESP. And with this feedback session, what we're trying to do, we would like to engage in open dialogue with you to get your ideas on and suggestions on how we can improve. We should have a slide with the questions. If you can pull it up. Yeah, the second slide. Thanks. So we prepared a couple of questions for you to guide the discussion. So for instance, what kind of specific energy storage topics you think are more relevant or most relevant and that we should focus on in the future? How can we improve our engagement with you stakeholders and partners in the future, and what type of activities you would like to see more of in the future? So these are just a couple of questions. Feel free to brainstorm beyond that. But before we get into your feedback, I would give the floor to Vinu to give a bit of an overview of what we are currently working on, just so that you have a better background.
Thanks, Ivana. So yeah, just to give you a brief overview on the 7 working groups of the ESP. So we focus on different topics, right? So different topics related to energy storage, not only batteries. So for example, working group 1 on power systems. Currently we are finalizing a publication on best safety operation guidelines. This is based on the South Korean experience. So as many of you might know, there were many fire incidents that have taken place in Korea over the last years in Bess facilities. And so we are, yes, finalizing this report as guidelines for other countries to kind of learn from the Korean experience and to help avoid such incidents from happening in the future. Then we have working group 2 on the global network of energy storage testbeds. Here we have a project on energy storage testbed facilities in different countries. We have working group 3, which is on training and capacity building. Under this working group, we actually have 2 big lines of work. So we have the gender work that is being led by my colleague Nat. And then we have also the Virtual Energy Storage Academy. So this is an online, free online platform on energy storage topics. So there's different courses online related to energy storage. We have different topics, different modules, open to anyone. So anyone who's interested in energy storage can learn different topics related to that. So actually we would also kindly request if anyone is interested in preparing a new module for us to add in the on the VESA platform, please do let us know. Then we have working group 4 on flexible sector coupling. Under this, we are finalizing a report on vehicle grid integration mini-grids. And this is being led by our partner NTUA, so the National Technical University of Athens. We then have working group 5 on decentralized energy storage solutions. And here also we're finalizing a report on energy storage and mini-grids. We also have working group 6, which is on enabling policies and procurement. And under this, my colleagues Amit and Talal already presented the report that they are finalizing on the guidelines for planning solar plus storage projects. And then finally, we have also working group 7, which is on reuse and recycling. So as you can see, there's a wide range of topics and working groups that we focus on. But we would like to know from you if there's any other topics that you think that we might need to focus on, or what exactly do you think we could, work on more to expand the work of the ESP. Yeah, Tarek, I think there's a question at the back.
Thanks. Just building on the point earlier, I think there's far too much focus on batteries and there's nothing on pump storage. And when I hear about all the working groups, I don't hear the word hydro or pump storage anywhere. Shouldn't there be another working group for pump storage, maybe addressing the environmental issues and the challenges that we have with that? Thanks.
Thank you. Yes, we'll take note of that, and I think we can definitely include pump storage either as another working group, or we could also, kind of explore that and to maybe it could go under one of the current working groups that we have, and definitely a topic to focus on as well. Is there any other suggestions? Yes, not. There's one, okay.
For your collaborative opportunities, I think in the earlier presentation we discussed how you will first have to sort out your infrastructure, which is your grid. So for your partnerships, I would recommend the system operators, your ESCOMs. You had NemPower, I believe, earlier on, but yeah, ESCOM.
Thank you. Yes, Dalal.
On the working group for capacity building and training, has there been any considerations in the past? I know both of you are not very, you haven't been there like in the last couple of years, but has there been any surveys or like kind of needs assessment from utilities on what kind of topics they would look for in terms of storage-related technical areas? Maybe that could be one activity that the partnership can pursue, kind of design a questionnaire and try to engage with the utilities, because I think they would specifically have areas that they want to develop in, and then we can do maybe another like engagement with the academia or like the academic space to see who would be willing to curate or develop such modules. So maybe having a proactive process through the partnership would be something worth pursuing.
That's a good one.
Yeah, thanks, Talal. Yeah, so I don't think so you're talking about like doing a survey, right? To part of, yeah, no, I think that's been done, but yeah, good point, thanks. We'll definitely take note of that. Yes.
Actually, my colleague would have been better to suggest this idea, but one gap that we've mentioned, we've noticed between developing countries and developed countries is, as a project developer, there's a lot of tools that are available from a modeling perspective, not just like solar, like what you can do with PV-Syst or batteries with Homer, but there's actually further detail that's available. And these tools, first of all, they're priced in dollars or euros, so that's one. And they're very expensive, and they usually require an annual subscription. And if you're a small developer that might be working on 1 or 2 projects at a time that are 1 or 5 megawatts, it's extremely expensive to just do that annual subscription. So I don't know if there's something that can be done to either have some sort of a subsidized option for developers out of developing countries, or maybe there can be an open source platform. There are some very simplistic models out there that are free, but they're so simplistic that you can't build a bankable model off of that. So this is just an impediment that I've seen between someone trying to do something in Malawi versus someone doing it in California.
Sure, thanks. So actually we do have, well, it's not that complicated, but we do have a solar plus storage sizing tool that we've developed, and we're actually, currently working on it, making updates. So soon that will be, uploaded on our website, and you can access that. Okay.
It's a very good concept.
Anybody else?
Thank you. Maybe my question might be out of scope, but maybe you can extend your scope. If you look at the news today, they will inform you that MTN has spent about 6.6 billion rands on infrastructure upgrade, and mainly they have used that money to make sure that their networks keeps running even during load shedding. So they've been spending money on energy storage and of course on your PV. But in South Africa we are unique in the sense that we tend to grab opportunities where we're not supposed to, stealing. So most of the panels, most of the batteries get stolen, especially in the base stations. So in terms of energy storage, are we in any way considering somehow the protection of assets through digital means or any other means? Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a good point, and definitely take note of that. Yes, I think there's.
It's a follow-up, actually, just to continue on this, because I'm currently in Jamaica, and the water utility is purchasing megawatts of solar and battery to actually cope with the cost of electricity for their pumping. And then it comes to this point on MTN. An idea came to me on the how to support entities that want to get to the storage business, but are not in the energy space. And for instance, supermarket here, Woolworths, they have diesel gensets to back up on the load shedding. Mm-hmm. If they had battery storage on their backyard, they could actually have the same backup, and even better, if they can wheel solar energy from a solar professional who is doing that and is good at doing that and does not have his solar stolen, they could have actually 100% renewable supermarket. So that's actually opening. The other colleague, when he talked about the telecom sector, it's opening avenues on new business models. If I was a battery integrator, I would say to this supermarket, all your offices, I supply you with battery and I take care of it. And you don't have to look at diesel cost, etc., etc. So it's just to point that some guys outside of the energy space may need support on battery storage development.
Thank you. We have one there first. Yeah.
What was next? Okay, thanks. I think one of the challenges with water pumping from the Earth's surface, which I haven't heard being talked about, is that around 1% of the Earth's water is drinkable, and the water we get from underground through wells, apparently the human activity is such that we've used up so much that the axis of the Earth has actually tilted, and that type of water, gets replaced after millions of years. So you might need slightly more engagement in that regard.
Thanks.
Thank you. I think we have another feedback there.
Okay, I was asked to please ask you to stand up if possible for the camera.
Thank you for this lovely conference. Maybe just a suggestion, all right? It's a new field, and we should start thinking about how to maybe have a dedicated session with the energy regulators and also the environmental protection authorities, because at some point we'll be disposing of these batteries, and at some point the regulators will have to license these respective batteries. So if we get them early enough into the game, then we might not have issues ahead. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah.
There was the gentleman. He was first.
Afternoon, everyone, and thank you for this nice session. And I think from my side, it might be one of the points that was touched a bit in terms of education, that actually, when I see it under the innovative activities, I think something that talks to me is that we're talking about something that is quite fairly new. I agree with my brother on the other side. But if you look into the region of developing countries, we've mentioned something in the value chain, that there is a lot of raw material that we can actually get a lot out of them in terms of even strengthening our technology, our products. But I'm also of the view that I think there's still a lot of work that we need to consider to work with the educational institutions. Researches that are based from that point of view should not be also just limited to workshops and job creation, but educational part of it. And I think from the early generation, from your high schools, those type of workshops, I think they will play a very vitally important role to upskillment and also to nature the view of what we trying to get into. Partnering also with your likes, we spoke about the stakeholders. One of the, I'm sure maybe it has been done, but I will maybe wish that we see more presentation from the motor industry associations, from the mining associations. Are they also being invited in those sessions? Are they also being given the opportunity to give their respected view, not just being researchers based on the information, but I think all other associations should also form part of those membership that probably they can add a value into that, because that value chain is very important to take it from the grassroots of it up until to the end products. Because most of us, I would say, from my side, I don't understand, but I'm wondering if I speak to a grade 8 person, try to explain to him or her about the battery storage, will that even make sense to start off with? I think that is just my take out of it.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to add on the gentleman and about bringing other stakeholders to the table, just as you also explained. I remember a couple of years ago having a conversation about EV in South Africa, and this was hosted by Nedbank, and the Motor Association of South Africa was in this conversation. The Taxi Association was in this conversation as well. So yes, there is government here, but there's also private sector here, right? So for us to implement, one of the other partners I think that needs to be here, maybe the IFC, because we cannot, as private sector, we cannot come to that side of the World Bank, right? We need to go to the IFC. So institutions like IFC, who now, if I go there tomorrow, how am I going to explain how am I going to explain all this information that they could have gotten here, which will make the conversation much easier when we're trying to seek the private financing that's needed to grow the industry. So if it's possible, next time we can have have ABSA, have Nedbank, have Standard Bank, have DFIs in the conversation, because you can imagine, all this complicated information. That's what explained. It was great, but now we have to go explain it to the person we are asking money from. So I think that would help in growing this as an industry. Thank you.
Sure, thank you. So just to add on to that before we close this session, we do have colleagues from the IFC also present in this meeting, and also in our last meetings in the UK, we did have actually a session that was led by the IFC on the bankability of storage projects as well. No, he's not here right now, but
we also have AFTB.
But we have also AFTB. But what I'm saying is, we did have a session in our last meetings in the UK in June, which was actually led by the IFC. It was a really interactive session, and that was on the bankability of storage projects. So. Yes. So with that being said, I think we have gone past our limits, so we will end the session so that we can move on with the closing remarks. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all so much for your patience and for staying throughout the day. Without much ado, I would like to invite Asmin Khan, who is the operations manager for the World Bank office in Pretoria. We are really honored to have her here to close our meeting for today. After that, we have our site visits, but it's good to have a local World Bank representative and not us from nowhere. This is a known quantity, and she's here. She knows the situation in this country, and she's now sold on energy storage. So let's give her a little clap and then get her to come here and give her a closing remarks.
So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to be too long with my remarks, but just let me give you my own personal experience of battery storage. Fred knows this well. Like everybody in South Africa, I've had to deal with lots of load shedding. So I finally succumbed and got a lithium-ion battery. I now have 8 solar panels, and half my electricity is coming out of my solar panels stored in my batteries. I have no problems with load shedding anymore. But it is expensive. So I think this is one of the reasons I was asking is how do we get the cost of this technology down so most average people in South Africa can afford these battery storage solutions and reduce the impact on the grid. So as was mentioned, I'm the manager of operations in Southern Africa, and I work very closely with our energy team because in Southern Africa we're doing a lot of energy projects, renewable energy projects. So first, I want to thank all of you for being here and being a part of the discussion for the past few years. Really, we're here today to advance our collective efforts of accelerating the deployment of energy storage technologies, both in developing and middle-income countries. We all know that accelerating the deployment of renewable energy and energy storage is not a simple task. We've heard the complexities of it. The World Bank launched the Battery Storage Investment Program in 2018 to achieve its ambitious mission of financing 17.5 gigawatt hours of battery storage by 2025. I hope we're on track of meeting that. Through the Energy Storage Program, SMAP has been supporting developing countries in deploying energy storage by providing access to concessional finance, technical assistance, and addressing key knowledge gaps. And I think some of the comments made by the stakeholders kind of highlights what of interest to stakeholders moving forward. To this extent, I'm really happy. Tomorrow I will be, I'll have the privilege to represent the World Bank at the launch of the installation of the battery energy system storage system at Eskom's Hex substation in Worcester, Western Cape. I'm looking forward to witnessing firsthand the completion of phase 1 of this project through the Clean Technology Fund financing. The ESP meetings, particularly the Stakeholder Forum, has provided us with an opportunity to collaborate towards our shared objective of boosting the deployment of energy storage in developing countries. Today's forum gave us a chance to assist in numerous insightful presentations. I just sat through one and learned a lot, and panel discussions around the topic of energy storage. I understand we started the day with introductory remarks from the World Bank's Global Director of Energy, the DGE of CSIR, and the Director General of DFFE. This was followed by a first session of the forum on upcoming projects in developing countries. I understand we listened to very interesting presentations from Belize, Bangladesh, and Namibia on challenges and opportunities for energy storage deployment. We also had 2 interactive sessions on energy storage technology updates for international and local technology providers, including the International Hydropower Association, LOHAM, and RPower Consulting for the international providers, and Bushveld Energy, SABS, and EPR in South Africa. There was also a very interesting session on the perspectives on the sustainability of energy storage solutions led by Vito and BERA. We also had a discussion on South Africa's BESS value chain report, which I just sat through, highlighting the opportunity for South Africa to play a significant role in the global battery value chain. Finally, we just heard the stakeholder feedback session, and I think this is of real importance for the program to hear directly from you as we continue our partnership to increase energy storage deployment in developing countries. Next, I've been told we would like to invite you all to join us for a site visit at the CSIR testbed facility. Here we will be divided two groups. One will visit the storage testbed, while the other will visit the PV facility. Following the site visit, this is what you're all looking forward to. There's an ESP stakeholder cocktail reception from 7 to 9 p.m. Where exactly is it? Just outside here. You've got to show up for the cocktails. With regards to tomorrow's agenda, the organizers would like to remind you that there will be a workshop on methodologies for sustainability assessment of energy storage to be led by Vito/Bera. And following that, there will also be another site visit to the ESCOM testbed facility. I would like to express my gratitude to our local co-hosts, CSIR and DFFE, for their extensive efforts in organizing today's event. A big thanks to all the ESP partners and stakeholders, as well as World Bank clients for making this a successful event, as we continue in our joint mission of increasing energy storage deployment in developing and middle-income nations. Thank you very much, and safe travels to those of you who've come from overseas. And we really appreciate your coming. I think it's your participation and active asking of questions in these sessions, which is what makes it so interesting. Thank you so much.
Sorry. Yes, I understand the buses are ready, so I think we all have to make our way to the front of the building where the buses are. Right.